The courage, y'all, to call out why accountability matters in professional spaces. Every day in boardrooms and Zoom calls across America, someone is being loud and wrong. Right now, as I speak, a colleague is confidently presenting incorrect data. A manager is doubling down on a flawed strategy. A leader is refusing to acknowledge a mistake that everyone else can plainly see. And what are we doing about it? Usually, nothing. I recently had the privilege of interviewing Nicky Simone, a formidable advocate for accountability in professional spaces, particularly for Black women navigating environments where their voices are often diminished. Her revolutionary work has transformed countless organizations from cultures of silence into bastions of honest dialogue. Nikki isn't just discussing accountability. She's redefining it as an act of radical love, a form of care that elevates entire communities. Her insights have fundamentally transformed how I understand the power dynamics of accountability. And today, I'm sharing what I learned from our conversation. The silence we maintain in these moments isn't just awkward, it's toxic, it's expensive, and it's killing our potential. We've normalized a culture where being wrong loudly gets rewarded more than being quietly correct, where we'd rather suffer collective embarrassment than engage in courageous conversations, where we prioritize temporary comfort over lasting growth. This isn't just a minor workplace annoyance, it's a fundamental barrier to progress, especially in Black business spaces where representation already comes at a premium and excellence is non negotiable. The cost of this silence: stagnation, mediocrity, lost opportunities, damaged trust. But there's another way, a path that requires more courage but delivers exponentially greater rewards. What if we reimagined accountability not as punishment, but as empowerment, not as conflict, but as care? When I spoke with Nikki Simone about this phenomenon, she emphasized something profound. Accountability isn't about catching people doing wrong. It's about creating spaces where doing right becomes the natural choice. Let's break down three essential truths about accountability that can transform how we show up in the professional spaces. First, accountability is empowerment. When we hold ourselves and others accountable, even when it's uncomfortable, we foster trust, credibility, and respect in every room we enter. Think about the last time someone had the courage to give you honest feedback. Did it sting initially? Perhaps, but if delivered with care, didn't it ultimately help you grow? Didn't it demonstrate that someone believed you were capable of better? Second, silence enables stagnation. When we let loud and wrong behavior slide without addressing it directly, we allow misinformation and mediocrity to persist within our communities. Every time we choose silence in the face of inaccuracy or injustice, we become complicit in lowering standards. We tacitly announce that good enough is sufficient when excellence should be our baseline. Third, courageous conversations drive progress. Speaking up with honesty, even if your voice shakes, sets new standards for professionalism and opens doors for authentic leadership, especially crucial in Black business spaces where representation matters. These conversations aren't just about correcting facts, they're about creating cultures where truth is valued above comfort, where growth is prioritized over ego. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they're principles with real world impact, as demonstrated by the remarkable individuals and organizations who've embraced accountability as a catalyst for change. Consider Monica Daniel, an acclaimed Black woman editor who has spent 2 decades mentoring others in the post production community. As a single mother raising a special needs child, Monica faced unique personal obstacles throughout her career. But what sets her apart isn't just her technical expertise, it's her unwavering commitment to transparency. When Monica made technical errors on set or encountered broader industry issues, she didn't hide them out of embarrassment. She addressed them publicly. She regularly moderated panels about accountability in creative workspaces, turning potential moments of shame into opportunities for collective learning. The result? Her openness inspired peers to be more forthcoming about their own challenges. Her mentees reported feeling safer making mistakes because Monica modeled vulnerability as strength. By refusing to participate in a culture of silence, she helped shift the entire post production industry toward greater transparency, a change that has echoed across similar creative fields nationwide. Monica's approach embodies what Nicky Simone calls the courage to call out, not as an act of aggression, but as an expression of care for her community and craft. But accountability isn't just transformative on an individual level, it can reshape entire systems. The Center for Community Uplift at Brookings Metro demonstrated this when they launched the Black Business Parity Dashboard. This groundbreaking initiative highlighted the stark underrepresentation of Black owned businesses despite high entrepreneurial potential among Black Americans. For decades, structural barriers like lack of credit access and reluctance among policymakers and business leaders to acknowledge these issues openly kept disparities hidden behind polite silence rather than honest conversation. The Brookings team refused to perpetuate this silence. By publishing local level data showing exactly how far short each city falls from parity, they force stakeholders into necessary, but sometimes uncomfortable, dialogues about systemic inequities. The impact was immediate and profound. Cities began investing more intentionally in closing these gaps once they could no longer ignore documented evidence. Grassroots organizers gained leverage using hard data as conversation starters with officials and funders. This wasn't just about pointing fingers, it was about creating accountability through visibility, turning secondhand embarrassment into data driven advocacy tools that catalyzed real policy changes at municipal levels across America. As Nikki Simone pointed out during our interview, data without dialogue is just numbers on a page. The courage comes in forcing the conversation that the data demands. The power of these courageous conversations becomes even more evident when we examine how they're addressing wealth gaps through transparent dialogue. A recent Brookings report analyzed why only 6.5% of loan applications by Black business owners were approved despite increased entrepreneurial activity. This gap is rooted not just in economics, but also in unspoken biases perpetuated by institutional denial or avoidance. For aspiring Black entrepreneurs navigating startup funding challenges, limited intergenerational wealth meant less collateral and home ownership, a fact often glossed over instead of discussed candidly with bankers, investors, and policymakers. But advocacy groups began changing this dynamic by hosting community forums where real stories replaced sanitized statistics. Entrepreneurs shared firsthand accounts. Here's what actually happened, rather than letting shame keep problems hidden. The outcome? Lenders started piloting alternative credit evaluation models after hearing consistent feedback during these forums, something that would not have happened had everyone kept quiet out of fear or embarrassment. Years spent watching talented founders struggle silently motivated organizers to push past politeness toward blunt truth telling sessions. This shift in approach helped financial institutions move away from risk aversion by default and toward relationship based lending practices informed by lived experience, not just numbers alone. As these examples illustrate, accountability isn't about calling people out for the sake of embarrassment. It's about calling people into a higher standard of excellence and integrity. If more people adopted this perspective, we'd see workplaces become safer spaces for learning with fewer repeated mistakes because people feel empowered, not shamed when called in rather than silently judged behind closed doors. Organizations would innovate faster since honest feedback loops fuel improvement instead of resentment or stagnation. This is particularly crucial for Black women in professional spaces who often navigate environments where their voices are already marginalized. As Nikki Simone emphasized in our conversation, when you're already fighting to be heard, the courage to speak truth becomes not just a professional skill, but a survival strategy. The Pink Parachute Diaries was created precisely to amplify these voices and celebrate Black women who refuse to accept mediocrity, either from themselves or from the systems they navigate. In a world where talented Black women are handed pink slips while underperforming men receive golden parachutes, accountability becomes a radical act of self preservation and community care. So, what's the actionable takeaway from all this? Next time you witness someone being loud and wrong, don't shrink away from discomfort. Instead, pull them aside respectfully or address it head on if needed and invite reflection and accountability. That's how you build communities full of exceptional individuals ready for real progress. That's how you transform secondhand embarrassment into firsthand empowerment. As Nikki Simone would say, with that friendly auntie energy that characterizes her approach, hold my beer. I'm about to show you what real accountability looks like. No sugarcoating here. We're keeping it bold so everyone leaves braver than they came. I want you to imagine a world where accountability is the norm, not the exception. A world where we value truth over comfort, growth over ego, excellence over mediocrity. This isn't some utopian fantasy. It's a world we can create, one courageous conversation at a time. Today, I challenge you to become an architect of accountability in your own spaces. Start small if you must, but start. Question the unquestionable. Speak the unspeakable. Stand for excellence when others settle for good enough. Because the truth is, your voice matters more than you know. Your willingness to speak up could be the catalyst someone else needs to find their courage. Your commitment to accountability could transform not just your workplace, but ripple outward to change entire industries. The path of accountability isn't always comfortable, but neither is any journey worth taking. The momentary discomfort of addressing what's wrong pales in comparison to the lasting damage of perpetuating it through silence. So leave here today with this burning question in your heart. What truth am I not speaking? What conversation am I avoiding? What excellence am I compromising by my silence? And then go speak that truth. Have that conversation. Demand that excellence. Because in the end, the culture of accountability we create doesn't just change our workplaces, it changes us. It transforms us from passive observers into active participants in creating the world we want to see. The future is calling, and it's asking for your voice, your courage, your unwavering commitment to what's right over what's comfortable. Will you answer?